Now let's talk about leadership. You ready to shift gears? Wish we had 2 more days. Guess what's been fun for me these 2 days? To dazzle myself and let you all listen in. I mean, that's what's been exciting. I'm so intrigued with language and ideas and possibilities and opportunities and refinement of character, learning the graces as well as the skills, doing all the stuff necessary to be a unique person in the marketplace, at home, everywhere. Wow. So jot these notes down now for the next 30 minutes on leadership. Here's the first one. To attract attractive people, you must be attractive. Sometimes when we need other people in our enterprise, we go to work on them. When the real key is, first of all, to go to work on yourself. And become an attractive person. Now, it's not a bad idea to ponder and think, what would make me an attractive person? Here's one. A refinement of philosophy so that you really understand life and challenge to the best of your ability. Your philosophy about the marketplace and politics and government and the work ethic. Your philosophy of values and contributions. Your philosophy that understands each of us need all of us and all of us need each of us. Each value is important. The miracle of America is all the gifts that have been flowing in here for the last 300-400 years, especially the last 200 years. No country in the last 6,000 years has become such a depository of the gifts of the world like America has the last 200 years. There's been nothing like it in recorded history. So many of the gifts of the whole world deposited in one country. My grandparents came from Odessa, Russia. They were German, but when Peter married Catherine all those years back, it opened up the door for a lot of the Germans to move to Russia. And they moved and taught the Russians farming methods. And my grandparents moved to the Ukraine, Odessa. When I lectured in Moscow, some came all the way from Odessa up to Moscow. Now they want me to come from Moscow down to Odessa. And my grandparents came from Odessa, came to America, settled in a place in central Washington where a lot of the Germans came, and they called it Odessa, Washington, named after Odessa, Ukraine. My grandfather served in the Tsar's army a long time ago. In the Tsar's army, they had this deal. Based on your deportment, you got certain points. And if you accumulated enough of these points, you got to put your name into a lottery. And my grandfather accumulated enough of these points based on his deportment in the Tsar's army and got to participate in the lottery. Guess what happened to those who won these lotteries that they held every once in a while? You got to pick up your family and go to America. And my grandfather won one of these lotteries in the Tsar's army, picked up his one son and his wife and moved to America. Odessa, Washington. And my father was born in Odessa, Washington. Interesting, huh? Wow. The gifts that we have in this country are so multiplied. People from all over the world have come here, and they didn't come empty-handed. They brought their recipes. They brought the work ethic. They brought the gift of language. They brought the gift of law. They brought the gift of music, the gift of medicine, the gift of healing. Wow. America is such a composite of all the gifts of the world. The ethnic streams that have been flowing in here have made us great. Ethnic cleansing. Where would we start? Amazing. Now here's what we need to do. Participate in the gifts that America has. Now here's the joy I have, to go back where these gifts came from. That's why I love to go back to Italy, and I love to go to Poland, and I love to go to Czechoslovakia, and I love to go to Israel, and I love to go to all the places around the world to see where America came from. And then the gifts they brought here helped me to develop my gifts. Now I'm taking some of my gifts back to where it came from. Can you imagine the feeling of now making that transcontinental contribution? Because they came here, now I go there. It's big time for a farm kid from Idaho. But to attract attractive people, you must be attractive now, working hard on yourself. Jot this down. Leadership is really the challenge to be something better than mediocre, something better than average. The step above, not just to be above from ego standpoint, but the step above so you can help someone else. What speaker was it that said, in order to lift someone up, you must be on higher ground? How true. And the challenge of leadership to be something more than average or mediocre has these components. Make this list. This is a good list. Learn to be strong but not rude. Strength we need, rudeness we don't need. Here's where it's important to learn the graces, not just the skills. Next, be kind but not weak. Sometimes it's easy to mistake weakness for kindness, but not true. Kindness is a powerful strength, but don't let your kindness become weakness. Next, learn to be bold but not a bully. Boldness we need, bully we don't need. Throwing weight around we don't need. Trying to impress we don't need. Express, yes, but impress, no. Next is to be thoughtful but not lazy. To dream but not just become a dreamer. To think but not just become a thinker. To have a philosophy but not to become just a philosopher. I know they call me, the great business philosopher, which I like the title, it's okay. But my philosophy says, jot it down, results is the name of the game. The name of the game is not philosophy. Philosophy is just a useful tool to set you on a good track so that a year from now you'll be in a better place than you would have on the old track. Hopefully most everybody here, maybe everybody here, is going to set a new track as soon as this weekend is finished for your health and for your family and for your future and for your activity and for your productivity and for your spirituality and all the rest of good values. So be thoughtful but not lazy. Here's the next one. Be proud but not arrogant. Pride we need. Team pride and community pride and state pride and country pride and personal pride and family pride. But not arrogance. Don't let your pride slip into arrogance. Here's the next one. Be humble but not timid. Some people mistake timidity for humility. But humility is a virtue. Timidity is an illness, a malady that can be corrected. You can learn to drive your timidity into such a small corner, it does not now disturb the rest of the house. Here's one more. In terms of sophistication, doesn't take much to learn and practice the art of sophistication. Here's a good one. Humor without folly. Humor has its place, but just don't cross the line so that your humor becomes folly. Next, it's okay to be witty but not silly. If you want to lead as a parent and lead as a manager and lead as an entrepreneur, if you want to lead as a community leader and lead as a senator and lead as an important person of influence and power, witty, yes, silly, no. Next, every leader must understand the law of averages so you can use it for your benefit and for your company, anything you might be involved in. Here's what the law of averages says. If you do something often enough, you'll get a ratio of results. And anyone can create this ratio. In baseball, we simply call it batting average. If you go up to bat 10 times, get a hit, we say you're batting 100. 3 hits out of 10, you're batting 300. You don't have to be perfect going up to bat, These days, batting 250, 300, you can make $4 or $5 million a year. In sales, that's about all you got to do. You don't need to bat 1,000, right? You don't need to bat perfect. You can get plenty of no's, but the yeses can make you rich. So don't worry about the no's. Concentrate on the yeses that make you rich. Key, once the ratio starts, it tends to continue. If you can get 1 yes out of 10 presentations, chances are if you give 10 more presentations, you get another one. 10 more, you get another one. Next, the ratio can be improved. The 4th time you talk to 10, you get 2 instead of 1. Now you're starting to grow. We must also understand the ratio and the law of averages when it comes to dealing with all of the projects concerning human beings. Here's the simple ratio. Everything's a pyramid. Just make that note. Everything is a pyramid. And the reason is because all humans are different in temperament and desire and goal setting. If we go to university and we count the number of freshmen, so now we count the number of sophomores. Is it the same number of sophomores as freshmen? This stuff's not hard now. This is real easy stuff. If we count now the sophomores, are there just as many sophomores as freshmen? And the answer is no. Somebody says, why is that? It's just one of those things. You don't need to study this. This is ancient stuff. Some things aren't worth the time to study. The sun comes up in the east. Somebody says, why is that? I wouldn't sign up for that class. I mean, don't take the time. Now, if in the university we were to now count the juniors, the junior class, count them, would there be as many juniors as sophomores? No. You say, well, shouldn't we fix this? And the answer is no. This is the way it is. It's like trying to fix the seasons. Why don't we have 3 springs, 2 summers, 4 falls, and only 1 winter? Say, no, you can't fool with this stuff. Since everybody's different, everybody has different ambitions, this is not moral value now that we place on, that morally, sophomores are better than freshmen. We say, no, it's just that the numbers are smaller. Are there as many seniors as juniors? No. Now here is one answer to why. Number 1, life takes its inevitable toll. Some didn't make it from one class to the next simply because their life was taken. They lost their life. Next, each human being has a different set of visions for their own future. Some are willing to settle for more safety than risk. It's safer to be an employee than to be an entrepreneur. So that's not a moral question between being an employee and an entrepreneur. Sometimes it's a matter of temperament. And sometimes you have to be careful what you teach in mass because there's such a variety of temperament. There was one philosophy for a while that said everybody should plunge into debt. Mortgage your house and mortgage your car and pile up as much debt as you possibly can. Then you'll have this unbelievable incentive to become incredibly successful. Well, jot this down. What's an incredible incentive to one is devastation to another. So you can't recommend grandly something like that because it depends on a person's temperament. Somebody says, we all should. Probably not. So you have to be careful what you teach in mass. Key. Not everybody should, not everybody will. And this is not a moral question. Here's what it is, personal decision. And what you must learn to do is understand that each individual has dignity because we're created by a creator and given dignity and rights. Rights to stay, rights to grow, rights to be safe rather than to risk. And you can't call one moral and one immoral. That's not true. It's just a matter of personal choice. Here's the best we can teach. Everybody should do the best they can with where they want to be. Sometimes people linger for a long time in the freshman class, and then suddenly they decide to grow. Now they graduate and become entrepreneurs and bless the world. Who knows when those things will occur? Is this helpful? I'm telling you, to understand what people want to do. I used to hope that everyone would do the same. I would hope that everyone would want to be extremely successful. I used to say, I'm going to change these people if it kills me. I almost died. I mean, you can't change them. You learn early not to send ducks to eagle school. Not a matter of morality, not a matter of demeaning, but whoever wants to do whatever they do, our best encouragement is to do the best you can and keep learning, do the best you can and keep learning, do whatever you want to do and keep learning. Here's what I discovered. It was one of the surprising discoveries I made. People of modest means can become sophisticated because learning sophistication and practicing it is not expensive. How much is a book on unique sophistication to bless your life? $30? It's not $3,000. It's not $30,000. How much is a library card? It's free. The study and practice of sophistication is available to everyone, no matter what their modest means or wealthy means. Because jot this down. Wealth does not guarantee sophistication. Wealth doesn't guarantee the graces. I know a guy that's rich. He's a clod. This guy's a clod, eats with his elbow in his soup. I mean, he's just a clod. His money has done nothing for him in terms of sophistication and uniqueness. And yet someone of very modest means can become very sophisticated. They know the graces. They live a unique life, even though they have modest means. Interesting. So understand that all life is a pyramid. Let everybody do whatever they wish to do. Encourage everybody to do better. But let people linger if they wish to linger. Let them grow if they wish to grow. Help them change if they wish to change. Okay. Here's what's next if you're working with people to understand. Learn to work with the people who deserve it, not the people who need it. Because we must operate like life operates. Remember, we discussed that yesterday. Life was designed not to give us what we need. Life was designed to give us what we deserve. And if you've got people to work with the ones that deserve it. Now, here's the next part that's very important for a leader, management, to understand. Now you must teach people how to deserve your time. You must teach people how to deserve your help. You say, Mary, if you'll do this and this, I'll do all of this. And if you'll do this and this and this, I'm telling you, I will do all of this. I will meet you more than, what? Halfway, but you got to come toward the halfway part. And probably since I'm so anxious to work with you, if you'll start taking these steps, I'll probably meet you more than halfway. We learn not to go all the way just because of need, unless someone needs to be rescued, unless the situation is out of control and there's no other way. Yes. Every leader must understand the story of the frog and the scorpion, which represents good and evil. Kids must study the story of the frog and the scorpion. The story says the scorpion and the frog appeared on the bank of the river about the same time, and the frog was about to jump in the river and swim to the other side, looked like, obviously. And before he jumped, the scorpion comes up and engages the frog in conversation. And the scorpion says, Mr. Frog, I wish to get to the other side of the river, and I'm a scorpion and I can't swim. Would you be so kind this time to let me hop on your back and you swim across the river and deposit me on the other side? The frog looked at the scorpion and said, no way. Scorpions sting frogs and kill them. I'd get out there halfway and you'd sting me and I'd drown. And the scorpion said, hey, with your frog brain, you're not thinking. If I stung you out there halfway across the river, yes, you would die, but so would I. I'm not interested in committing suicide. I want to get to the other side, please. And the frog says, okay, that makes sense. Hop on. So the scorpion hops on the frog's back, starts across the river. Sure enough, halfway across the river, the scorpion stings the frog. They are now both in the water, about to go down for the third time. The frog cannot believe what's happened and said to the scorpion, why did you do that? I'm about to drown, but so are you. Why did you do that? And the scorpion said, because I am a scorpion. So you've got to understand the story of the frog and the scorpion. Here's what the prophet said. Beware of the little foxes that eat the vines. You look at the vines and everything looks okay. You've got to look a little closer. The little foxes are busy and you soon will not have a vineyard. You cannot entertain evil in any respect. You say, well, a little won't hurt. A little begins the process. There are even some people better to do without their productivity because they may be the scorpion. Here's what you must do. The work of father, the protector. The work of mother to nourish, the work of father to protect. Next, to learn the law of sowing and reaping. Here's what it says. Whatever you sow, you reap. Not to think so is naive. If you sow bad, you reap bad. Simple analysis. If you sow good, you reap good. Here's what else is important to understand about the law of sowing and reaping. You don't reap what you sow. Interesting. Rather, you always reap much more than what you sow. Someone says, you get back what you put out. And the answer is no, that's not true. You don't get back what you put out. You get back multiplied what you put out. The old prophet said, if you sow to the wind, you're not going to reap a wind. You're going to reap a whirlwind. Multiplied. The old prophet also said, sometimes the sins of the fathers are visited on the second and the third and the fourth generation. Meaning the wrong seeds can grow and cause devastation, not just for the present generation, but the next one and the next one and the next one. We've been through some of that. And it took 3 or 4 generations to pass before it finally went away. And nothing ever goes all the way away. When you turn on the light, the darkness disappears. How far away does it go? Not very far. Waiting for a chance to come back in if light loses its energy. So jot the phrase down, the battle is always on. And you must be wise. Careful what you sow, because the evil side reaps the whirlwind. Now, we also multiply when we sow the good. The reason I have come to be here this weekend, one more time, is to invest a piece of my life into your lives. And here's what I expect, the miracle to occur. And I expect it to multiply and multiply and multiply. No telling how far these ideas, the notes you've taken, may spread and go, one generation to the next to the next. It is so fantastic to comprehend. Okay. Now jot this down. Sometimes when you sow, you don't reap. You must be prepared for that. The farmer plants his crop in the spring, takes care of it with all diligence, is an honorable man, loves his family, and he works hard all summer. But just before he sends the combines into the field, the hailstorm comes along and beats it all in the ground, which means this time you lose. Now, if the hailstorm beats the farmer's crop in the ground before he can harvest it, he now has a choice. Mr. Farmer, what will you do come next spring? One farmer may say, well, I'm never going to plant again. Look what the hail does. But let me give you better odds than that. Jot this down, it's one of the best I got. Come harvest time, I promise you this, more often than not, you will reap what you have planted in the spring. Now, once in a while you don't. Once in a while reverses happen. Once in a while the dark clouds fly by. Once in a while things are upside down. Once in a while the economy goes into a tailspin. Once in a while it doesn't work. Yes, once in a while, but let me give you the promise, more often than not. So should the farmer take another risk come spring? And the answer is yes. Could another hailstorm come 2 years in a row? And the answer is yes. But jot this down. If you do not plant the next spring, you don't even have a chance. Wow. So come opportunity, take the chance. Come opportunity, do your thing. Wow. Jot these notes down now and I'm finished. Leadership should understand what creates a wealthy person. I did a speech one time, and the title of my speech was, Today I Am a Wealthy Man. Didn't have much to do with money. But here's what I said. I want you to jot these notes down, and then we're finished for the day. Here was number one. I said, I'm wealthy because of my heritage. My parents, my grandparents. My grandmother studied nutrition, passed it on to my mother. Back in those days when my mother studied and practiced nutrition, she was called like a health nut. Right? Do you go back that far, right? Your parents or grandparents? They were called health nuts. They were studying vitamins and they were studying this. Mama used to mix up some of this stuff for me and Papa and said, if this don't kill us, I think it'll help. And we're, gagging this stuff down. My mother, with the practice and study of better nutrition, extended her life at least, the doctor said, at least 20 years. Said if your mother hadn't have done that, she wouldn't have lived that extra 20 years. He said when your mother died, the walls of her heart were paper thin. He said how she lived this last 20 years is incomprehensible. And then I told him, Mama used to do all the juices, had the distiller to distill the water, all the stuff that was considered kind of kooky, right, back in the 40s and the 50s and 60s. Herbs and twigs, something to smoke, but Mama did all that stuff, extended her life over 20 years. My father lived to be 93, never had a major illness. I've never had one. Passed it on to my children, my grandchildren. Unbelievable. My heritage, wow. What's that worth? It's worth a fortune. So you got to contemplate every once in a while your blessings, and part of your blessing is your heritage. Next is the heritage of your country. We that come from the free countries, engaging in enterprise to start with $1 and make a fortune, become a millionaire. What value is that heritage? It's unbelievable. We enjoy the benefit of courts we didn't start. We enjoy the benefit of laws we didn't create. We enjoy the benefit of learning institutions we didn't found. We enjoy the benefit of medicine we didn't discover. Wow. Heritage. Next, I said, I'm a wealthy man because of my experiences. Experience makes you rich. Here's what you must treat your experiences as: commodity. You must treat your experiences as high value. You must treat your experiences as capital so that you can invest in the future what you've learned in the past. My experiences now have taken me around the world. A birthday celebration last year, right, in 16 cities. It was one of the most unbelievable experiences of my life. A group got together in Italy and gave me a helicopter tour of Sorrento, Naples, Vesuvius, the Isle of Capri, Pompeii from the air. Wow. Unbelievable experiences. Next, I'm wealthy because of my friends. It's one of the greatest wealths of all, friendship. Those wonderful people who know all about you and still like you, right? Friends. I just lost a friend. David died 2-3 years ago. He was the one I used to talk about. If I was stuck in a foreign jail accused unduly, if they would allow me one phone call, I would have called David. Why would I call him? He would come and get me. End of story. That's what you call a friend, right? Somebody who would come and get you. Next, I said I'm wealthy because of what I've learned. I'm wealthy from the people who have taught me, from the Earl Schoafs of the world and from the Bill Baileys of the world and other people that have made a contribution to my intellectual discovery, that have helped me to refine the track I live on for good health, for prosperity, for all the things valuable. Can't put a price tag on someone's book or someone's conversation. Someone who gives you knowledge when you need it the most, when you can't think of the ideas, your head is so clouded maybe with despair and the clouds of difficulty hover near. This is when you need somebody to whisper valuable information in your ear that helps you to survive and then to finally succeed. What is that knowledge worth? You can't put a price tag on it. What's this seminar worth? You couldn't put a price tag on it. The cost of the seminar pays for the lights and the room and somebody like me to come and the staff and all the other things. But the price of the seminar can't be the ideas. Here's what we have to do. Charge you for all the stuff, and then the ideas are free. Because how could you put a price tag on the ideas? That would be impossible. If you read a book that spared you from having a heart attack, what would it be worth? Someone says, $19.95. Say, no. No. That's what it cost. That's what it cost for the cover and the ink and the pages and the words and getting it to you and the brokers and all the stuff in between. That's the $20. You couldn't pay for the ideas. They're free. Key thing I've learned, never begrudge the money you spend on personal education. Because if you can keep developing your mind and your perception and your awareness and your ability to discover, the fortune is yours. The health is yours, the promise is yours, a good family relationship is yours, friendship is yours, everything is yours. If you keep accelerating your education, it's the best money you can invest in your personal self-education. Next, I said, I'm a wealthy man because of my future. You can't believe the people who say to me, Jim Rohn, what do you want to do in the future? We've got the wealth and the resources to do anything you want to do. What do you want to do? Do you know how unbelievable that is? What do you want to do? Incredible. Next, I said, I'm a wealthy man because of unique love experiences. I told you about Judy. That was a unique experience for me, even when we parted. You know, her 2 sons that I inherited as stepsons are now part of my family. And my 2 daughters and these 2 sons are very close. Her ex-husband and I are best friends. That's kind of unique. But it was one of the great experiences of my life. A major share of what I am today came from that unique experience of a love affair unmatched. Wow. Now let me close with something that I think we've already sent you home with. Here it is. Let others lead small lives, but not you. We have come to journey through these 2 days of seminar experience. Here's why, so that when we leave here, we can take larger steps toward our goals, stronger steps toward our vision. There'll be a new pride in our stride. There'll be a new light in our eyes. There'll be a new faith in our heart and soul. That because of our influence and because of who we are, who we want to be, we can touch other people's lives. Here's what's next, which I've tried to do during these 2 days. And that is to do your best above making a living and making a fortune. Here's what's very important, to enjoy this incredible satisfaction of helping people not just with their jobs, but with their lives. Sure, we need to teach job skills, sales skills and recruiting skills and managing skills and leadership skills. But here's what else we need to teach our children and everybody we can reach: life skills. How to set goals, how to be dynamic, how to become sophisticated, how to be kind as well as strong. One of the great writers of New Testament, here's what he said. And I'm sure it must have been a journey of incredible challenge, because here's what he said at one of the peaks of his life's discovery. He said, I've learned to be both ambitious and content. Can you imagine what a place that must be to finally arrive? To be both ambitious and content? Most contented people are not that ambitious, and most ambitious people are not that content. But the extraordinary place to arrive is to be both ambitious and content. And here's what I think was part of what he meant. Now, usually what people say, it means much more than what they say. William Booth, grandson of old General Booth that started the Salvation Army, personal friend of my parents and myself. He spoke 7 languages. He was a genius. I remember William Booth said to me one day when I was just, 18, 19 years old. He said, you know, Jim, the Bible doesn't mean what it says. I thought, whoa. He said, rather, it means much more than what it says. Wow. You can't put the whole scope of things in a few English words. You've got to try to understand all that it means, not just what it says. Wow. And this is part of now your labor as well as mine, to help people with their lives, to help people with discovery. If you get a good book on nutrition and it starts to benefit your health, I'm telling you, you got to pass it along, share it with someone else. You got to say, Mary, you got to read this book, I'm telling you. I've got more vitality now than I've ever had before. Any discoveries you've made, pass them on, pass them on, pass them on. Because here's a promise. Jot this promise down from the old prophet of ancient times. Here's what he said. If you will use your gifts, they will make room for you. If you will use your gifts, the gift of your language, the gift of your knowledge, the gift of your discovery, the gift of your emotion, the gift of caring, the gift of loving, the gift of being who you are. If you will use your gifts and develop your gifts, here's what they will do, and jot this down. They'll make a place for you. Maybe a variety of places during the course of your life. You'll always have a place, the prophet said, if you'll develop your gifts. I got to be a good example of that. Look where my gifts have brought me to this room. I worked hard on my gifts. I worked hard on the English language. I worked hard on putting things in phrases that might make a difference. I worked hard on trying to make it clear. I struggle with the language. Sometimes when I'm lecturing in another country and I've got a translator and I'll say something and the translator will translate and someone down front will say, Mr. Rohn, that wasn't the best translation. And I've told my translators ahead of time, if somebody now wants to correct you, that's part of this process. I haven't come to just give a performance and do my dance and get paid and leave. I don't do that. If someone in the front row says, you know, Mr. Rohn, there's a better translation than that. And I say to my translator, listen to his translation. So we get this person's translation, and my translator said, yes, that is a better way to translate what Mr. Rohn just said. And the reason is, if you labor with the language, not be too hasty to just make a talk and go, but to say, let's work this out until the lights turn on. And if we can find a better translation, I'm telling you, for everybody, extra lights go on. And then the light goes on for me. Just by taking the time to labor with the language so that things can become clear. Don't give too many little 5-minute things with your family. Take a little more time and labor with the language. And say, is that clear? Say, no, it isn't clear. Let me say it another way and say it another way until finally it becomes clear. If you'll take the time to do that, I'm telling you, those kind of gifts will make room for you if you are that diligent about what you have to share. Okay. But I want to thank you for providing a room for me. Here's what Earl Shove said to me. He said, Mr. Rohn, if you will work on all of your gifts, if you will do the best you possibly can, one of these days you'll be financially independent. I went for that. One of these days you'll be rich. I went for that. One of these days all the bills will be paid. You'll have treasures besides to give away. Your family, the future. He painted all of these pictures. He said, who knows? Someday you could become famous. I thought, wouldn't that be something? He said, no, I can see it. He said, if you keep up your present pace, I promise you, one of these days you will walk into a room and you will hear people say, that's him. That's the famous man. I thought, couldn't happen for me. But guess what, when I walked in here yesterday? Guess what I think I heard somebody say? That's him. That's the famous man. Wow. Now here's what I wish. With all my heart, here's what I really wish. Since this is already happening for me, here's what I really wish is for this to happen for you. For you to have a place of honor, respect, dignity. For you to have this exploding self-satisfaction that you have used your gifts wisely. They've blessed your family, blessed your community, blessed your business. It's available for all of us. Wow. So I want to thank you for being my guest and for dropping by these 2 days. It's been a fabulous experience for me. Here's what I promise you now as we leave. How many of you have my name on your notes? Have you got my name on your notes? How many of you? Everybody? Okay. Here's what that means. When you leave here, I go with you. So that's good. Now, some of you have taken pictures, so, I go with you to hang on your wall or somewhere, right? So I go with you. But here's what I also promise you as we leave here, that I will not leave you behind. I will take you with me in my heart and in my thoughts. God bless. Unbelievable. Wow. I toast you. Thank you. God bless. Thank you very much. Wow. Unbelievable. Thanks, everybody. Thank you very much.